And I know he was trying to punk me. Every time I see him, this nigga was happy as shit. He getting development deals and everything. He was like, yo, come up to New York. And one day I called him. I said, man, I'm moving to New York. He was like, when? I said, Friday, motherfucker. And I went on that, got down the Peter Pan Trailway. At that time, for me, it was $19. And it was, when I first went to New York, I wasn't getting no stage time. So, you know, when you leave a certain place, your money, you like a popular name in DC. So I was still a part of the DC scene, still doing the cabaret. So when I was broke, I would dip down to DC to do a show for like $500 with $20 in my pocket, knowing I had to go over there, snatch that money up, and then come back and keep on grinding until people started to take notice. And then I started to be able to do the same hustle in New York.
When so you moved to Brooklyn?
I moved to Brooklyn. Brooklyn was the first borough I moved to.
What's the first comedy club you went into?
First comedy
Pips?
club? No, it wasn't Pips. It was I was still from the black circuit, so I didn't even really go to, when I first moved to New York, I didn't go to comedy clubs. I went to black nights, like Boston Comedy Club was pretty much of a mainstream.
Right, on 4th Street,
the Comedy Cellar was mainstream. Catch a Rising Star was mainstream. And out of all the comics in New York, it was probably 3 or 4% of the black comics working in mainstream rooms. You just couldn't get in. And the only way you could get in, you know, you had to be first vouched by somebody else, you know, but waiting to get past and all that, it was just comedy nights. You like Def Comedy Jam nights, Comedy Explosion nights. So those are the stages that I performed in. First mainstream comedy club I went into was the Boston Comedy Club, and that was because it was a black night on Sunday. And when I moved, and I was happy with just doing the black circuit because you could make an honest living. It was like so many rooms that were open, like you could make $1,000 a week. You know, $1,000, you could make it like you had a spot, there are like 6 or 7 spots, you're doing $1.25 each joint. You can make $1,000 a week for a comic that's not married, don't have no responsibilities, and rooming with somebody. That was decent. And that was probably one of the reasons why a lot of black comics had an issue with crossing over or doing mainstream, because they got so comfortable with making a decent living in the black circuit, but not understanding that wasn't the future. You know what I'm saying? That was temporary.
One of the things that I got on stage in 91. I didn't get serious till 93. And a young brother saw me in Denver. I was in Denver. His name is Kwame. And I think about him a lot because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. He threw me into a den of thieves.
Yeah.
He had a black man on East Colfax.
And you went up?
And this is when East Colfax was East Colfax.
Right.
Like hookers, syringes, crack pipes. And it was called, Black Explosion on Sunday nights.
Right.
And he would book comedians to fly in. And I got to meet, which these relationships are still intact. This is 94.
Right.
I got to meet DL, Bernie.
They were smoking back then.
Cedric Young.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, I'm sure I met other ones I don't remember, but...
So it was a black night.
It was a black night,
right.
And they only allowed 2 white comics that were allowed in there.
Rich Foss and you?
This is Denver.
Okay.
So it was me and a white dude that you guys know. His name is Dr. Kevin Fitzgerald. He's a veterinarian.
Really?
On Animal Planet. He's a big white dude.
And
he saves animals and stuff. He's a stand-up.
Oh, yeah?
In real life. So, like, Kwame was a solid brother.
Right.
He would go, bro, everybody's welcome.
Right.
But not everybody was welcome because you go down there, they throw shit at you.
Man, I know those rooms.
So I figured out that for me to go up on stage, I had to come out dancing first.
Right.
So I put on like SWV and I come out dancing to SWV and then I'd have to attack them.
Oh, yeah.
This is, 2 years into comedy.
Yeah.
I had to jump into them. Like, look at this fucking Barry White looking motherfucker. To let them know, look at this guy looks like Archie Bell without the drells.
You popped them shots right
I
out the gate.
Go at them. You have to attack them.
Yeah.
And I would have 3 jokes. But the first 10 minutes was, look at this.
But I'm going to tell you one thing. Even with that said, but when you got them, how good did it feel ripping it?
I used to remember getting off stage. And listen, I was doing comedy 3 years. Donnell, I can tell you whatever the fuck you want me to tell you. I was eating a bag of dicks.
Oh, really?
But for 7 minutes, I was making my soul stronger.
Yeah.
because not too many people would do that. Not too many people would go into an African American room, never mind go there to bomb and be up first.
I'm gonna tell you, I saw the first time, and you 100% right. Because when I started Comic Connection Greenbelt, Def Jam was hot. So, like you said, all those names you named: Bernie Mac, Diaz, Chris Tucker, Eddie Griffith, Chucky Ducky. I mean, so many. It was so many. You were just black comic. And the first time I ever saw a white dude go into this room and just straight demolish it, it was Rich Voss.
Yes, that's what.
Man, let me tell you. I said, this motherfucker had a ponytail back there, sir. And I was saying, he was going so hard at these brothers. I was like, oh, he about to get shot. But the thing about it was, he didn't back down. He was like, bam, bam, bam. Rich Voss was the first white guy on Def Comedy Jam.
Yes, and BET also.
And I always tell, whenever I run into him, I was like, man, I've never seen a white dude with a ponytail go into a black room like that and just eat him up. But the love you got, it was a handful of comics like that. DC Benny, out of DC, he was one of the dudes
Puerto
that worked
Rican
him. Yeah, Puerto Rican.
Good dude.
Puerto Rican, one of them whites, right? and Bill Burr. Bill Burr, when he first moved to Boston, Bill Burr was heavy on the black circuit. And then, he did Madison Square Garden. We've had the black community haven't seen him since. No, but Bill was one of those dudes that would go eat up any room, black room, white room. And I tell, I mentor and I sometimes, I got all types of comic friends, whatever. And more so with my white comic friends, when they say well, it's hard for me to get stage time and stuff. I was like, you know what you should start doing? I said, start doing black rooms. And they look at me like, oh. I'm like, why? I say, because most black rooms are going to put you on just to see you fail. And even if that's how you get on stage, at least you get on stage. And then when you get on stage, you flip it and show them something different.
You figure it out.
You know what I'm saying? You figure it out. You figure it out. Like we so used to being in an environment where it's comfortable and easy. And following back, like when you said the first room I went, the first places I performed outside of the black room, it was a poetry scene was really hot in Brooklyn at the time. They had this spot called Brooklyn Moon Cafe. And it was when poetry was like really popping, where they was doing the snaps and shit. And dudes was getting pussy just by, burning the right incense, drinking the right tea, and just telling the bitch, I love your energy.
We're going in like fucking Marines, you understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.